Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it's September the 10th, 2023, day 564 of Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And just when you thought things around the Black Sea couldn't get more interesting, we have some news. Tensions have been on the rise between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Now, a lot of folks may not even know where these countries are, but if you look, they sit right between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. At the crossroads of the world, you'll notice they both share a border with Iran, and Armenia shares a border with Iraq. Just above them is Georgia, who currently 20% of their country is occupied by Russia. And Georgia, of course, shares a border with Russia, as does Azerbaijan. And Georgia and Armenia and Azerbaijan were the last extent of the Soviet Union, the last Soviet socialist republics, before you got to Iraq and Iran. Now, there's a lot of historical tension between Armenia and Azerbaijan, even as both having been former Soviet republics. Armenia, for example, is closer to Moscow than Muslim Azerbaijan is. And Armenia is part of the CSTO, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is like Putin's great value NATO, right? The difference between it and most great value products is that it sucks real bad. And in point of fact, one of the big sticking point right now, the thing that Azerbaijan is poking at, is the question of Nagorno-Karabakh. And we see it right up there, just across the Armenian-Azerbaijani border up in the mountains. It's a mountain enclave of predominantly ethnic Armenian Christians, right, in a predominantly Muslim nation. And if you notice, there's a road that goes up into the mountains. There's only one road. And here's the thing. Armenia, as a member of Putin's security organization, has turned to Moscow to protect the Armenians living up there in those mountains. And Moscow is supposed to be protecting the trade on that road, supposed to be getting food supplies and humanitarian aid through. But the Azerbaijanis have put special forces in civilian clothing, claim that they're radical environmental activists, and thrown the Russian military out of there. Now, personally, I think that's a shitty cover story, because if you believe it for 1 second, you have to believe that the Russian army is afraid of a bunch of tree huggers. And I think if we made more fun of that, they'd do something about it, but I don't know. Here's the thing. The Azerbaijanis are getting real serious. The government in Baku, the capital, is making an awful lot of noise. They're on the verge, maybe, of a new Armenian genocide. Some people are even calling this a new Armenian genocide. And they're massing troops at the border. They're moving men and equipment in there. And it looks like the Azerbaijanis might be getting ready to start some shit. Now, Armenia has appealed to Russia for help with this problem, but Russia, you might have noticed, is rather busy right now, and apparently can't even keep a road free from a bunch of tree huggers. So what's happened? Well, a couple of things have happened lately. Armenia, which has been neutral on the question of Ukraine, came in on the side of Ukraine this week with humanitarian assistance for Ukraine. Good move. Armenia has also just engaged in joint military exercises with the U.S. for the first time ever, on their territory anyway. I believe that there were some joint military exercises in the past, but they were conducted out of country. And so we see a movement of Armenia away from Moscow. The real kicker there is that the Armenians are looking to sign up to the ICC, the International Criminal Court, which means Putin would never be able to set foot in the country again. And they're supposed to be close allies. So that tells you the direction Armenia is moving. It needs help. It's not getting it from Moscow. Azerbaijan is coming knocking, and it's looking for friends. Now, they have a friend in Tehran. And the government in Tehran has apparently been warning the Azerbaijanis, hey, stay on your side of the border. And there have been a number of high-level talks about this. This messaging is coming out of Tehran pretty clearly, apparently, to Baku. And it's an interesting situation because both Iran and the United States support Armenia in this, come in on the side of the Armenians. Now, look, for all the complaints that the United States might have about Iran, Iran has reason to complain about the United States and Trump's handling of the nuclear deal. Right? As a people, we should be insistent that our politicians keep our word when we give our word to folks. And the Iran nuclear deal was a good deal for everybody, and we should never have pulled out of it. And so, as awful as the Red Guard is, as awful as the regime in Iran is, I'm not saying they're not. The nuclear deal was a mistake, pulling out of that. This could be, just looking on the most positive side of this thing, because it's a dicey situation. But looking on the most positive side of this thing, this could be something that the U.S. and Iran have in common, and we should be seizing this opportunity to talk about anything that we agree on. And supporting the Armenians in the face of an aggressor nation would be one of those things. The last thing that we need is another war breaking out in this part of the world. It's the last thing anybody needs. And the folks up there in Nagorno-Karabakh need food and supplies. All right? The forced starvation of these folks needs to stop. That road needs to be opened up. And humanitarian aid needs to be able to get up there. And the imperial ambitions of the Azerbaijanis need to be curbed. So this is one of those moments in history where if we're not paying attention to how these dominoes could fall, we could see them start falling one after another, and before we know it, we're in real trouble over here. Just something to think about. Make it a great day.